Inscrutable. There are a lot of words that sound similar and have slightly different meanings. Inscrutable here means puzzling again, intriguing, cryptic, fine. Again, multi options. But today's students of American culture tend to do something. Today's students of American culture tend to do something. We don't know. So could be anything. Literally open for interpretation. Tend to do something. Classical. Is there a question or answers? Surprising, there's a lot of answers. Appreciate. Oh, you're giving the second one. Okay, okay, one at a time. Okay, I'm happy it's answers. Okay, today's students of American culture tend to you're looking for positive. Music is understandable. We don't know if it's understandable or not. Gosh, thanks. In our own time, America's musical high culture had degenerated. Now, the word here I'm picking on cues. We have to take the cues. If it says degenerated, that doesn't sound very positive to me. That sounds a lot negative. That means degrading, going backward. So if it's going backward, that doesn't sound very positive to me. So I'm thinking probably not a positive word at the beginning. In our own time. The person who's writing is probably a bit more older. So he's talking about today's generation. Let's say I'm a bit older than you guys, fairly older. So then I'm talking in my own time, things have gotten bad, and your time right now, it's gotten worse. So what is understandable is they're actually ignoring it. Reinterpret is having their own interpretation on it. So can be positive, negative. It's promote is definitely positive. This is the only one. So if I plug this one in, says today's students of American culture tend to ignore classical music is understandable. In our own time, musical high culture had degenerated into formulaic. Formulaic means something which is unoriginal or derivative, unoriginal. So if their own time also it's become unoriginal. Divorced from the contemporary moment. That means has no connection. Divorce is like you lose connection, disconnected. Here they're using the word divorce has been disconnected from the contemporary. Contemporary is current. That means modern, current, right now moment. Thus, to miss out on what the orchestra is up to is not a big deal. I'm just thinking in my mind, I'm thinking it's not a big deal. So, not to appreciate much, malign much. Malign means defame. This can work. Not to sacrifice much, because it's not sacrificing much that you're missing out on things because they are not good. They are why they're not good? Because they are degenerating, they're divorced, they're formulaic. That doesn't mean they're good. So it is not you're not making a big sacrifice. It's like saying, just if you have to get something done, um, you guys are doing these classes after a lot of you are working. So it's not a big sacrifice. So what you will get out of it. So here, not to miss something is not much of a sacrifice. In the late gilded is golden age. However, music was widely esteemed. Esteemed is highly regarded as the queen of arts. Now they're going back in the late Gilded era. Music was in the American heyday. Heyday means prime. When they're big time, they were doing very well in their prime. This one is positive. Antagonistic is negative. Either it's villain or turning somebody against you, antagonize people. Rejected is negative. This is the only one which is positive. So I have to choose the positive one only. So C, ignore. It's understandable that people are ignoring it because it's not good. But in the golden age, it was amazing. It was centrally embedded in the culture because right now people are ignoring it. So it's obviously not embedded. It's like, it's kicked out of the culture for all we know. But previously it was part of the culture. It was very deep rooted. So Charlie, Delta, and India. What's up? Thank you. Echo, echo. Not to appreciate doesn't fit in very well. Not to appreciate much. Um, sacrifice much. That like they're not in here. Sacrifice meaning they're not missing out on much. Like there's not much to miss out on. All right, but good to see more contribution, which is obviously useful. Degenerated and divorced. Divorced means cut off from, disconnected. At their best, book reviews are written in defense of value. At their best, at their highest point, in defense of value. Keyword becomes defense of value. That's why the book reviews are written. And in the tacit hope, tacit means unspoken. This is one word you'll use a lot if you live in the English speaking countries. Something which is understood, right? It's like, you just, it's not, doesn't have to be stated. Like when I teach physical classes, there's a notice outside the board that no drinks or uh, food and drinks allowed in the room. But it doesn't say like, no smoking or alcohol allowed. But that's kind of like understood. You don't have to write that stuff, right? So that is really considered as tacit. It's understood. Hope the author, having had his her pointed out, might secretly agree that the book could be improved. That means that looking for improvement, that means these reviews cannot be awesome. They're saying like, why are we writing negative reviews? So in the defense of value, if we never say anything bad, like for example, if I'm terrible and I'm like in the middle of the class, I'm just disappearing. So and if you never give me a bad review, then I think that is also not a great idea. In defense of value, so if you give bad reviews, if you point out the errors, then the author, having had his negative pointed out, might secretly agree. Is like, yeah, fair enough, and then improve that book. And if you improve that book, who will benefit? Everybody will benefit, including the author. So negative and negative. Adverse is negative. Obtuse means obscure, but it's not particularly negative. It just means obscure. And hortatory is preachy. Strength again negative. This one was more negative than assumption. Assumption can be neutral as well. Transgressions, and here all the transgressions is a very odd word to use here, which means probably sin and offense here, or wrongdoing for that matter. But it's not a perfect fit, but they've just planted this word, and this is the best I have. And I think they're using as mistakes or errors. Transgression generally means more like a wrongdoing or an offense or sin. I think they're using a sin, sorry, mistake or errors. Bravo, Echo. Thank you. At their best, could be improved. Fair enough. These are the word persuade. Also, it means persuade. What they mean persuade by hortatory is like when he's something very preachy and trying to persuade you into doing something. That's how it probably becomes persuasive. All these words have slightly different meanings. Exhort means urge more directly. Because woo is to attract and quote is also to attract, slightly different. And induce does mean persuade. It's more trying to convince somebody, induce somebody to do something. Cogent is more logical, like a cogent argument, something very convincing or compelling. Court also mean to woo, to attract people. That's how the word courtship is used. During their courtship, they were wonderful together, and then reality checked in. Okay, now I'm getting worse. Oh, I did. Anyway, ANF. Okay, so gaps in the existing account's description of the playwright's life are not trifling or not small or minor. Since much of the documentary, why I'm saying that again, actually, we'll pick it up from here, not from the first one. Since much of the documentary evidence is on which historians have relied on is something. Now, we have to pick the answer from the second option first because it will be difficult to pick from the first one. The reason because if it's relied on is credible, then if I choose credible, then I'm thinking what could be the first word are not trifling. But then they should be not be minor. They should be why are there big gaps if it's all credible? Incomplete. If it's incomplete, then I can choose actually that the gaps are big. And if it's extant means exist, something that still exists is still existing. That again doesn't fit in very well. BNF, okay. Now incomplete will fit in. If I put incomplete logically, then I have to answer the other one also incomplete. That means they're incomplete. Why that? Because the everything they relied on, the documentary evidence, is incomplete. And that's why there are big gaps. Big gaps. If they're big gaps, but it says not, that means we have to say the opposite. They're not small gaps. So I'm thinking like small gaps. So if I say trifling, that will obvious and implicit will not mean anything. Obviously, obvious and implicit will be a bit more subtly obvious, not directly obvious. That means I rather choose words trifling. Trifling. That means not small, because whatever they're relying on is also not complete. It is in fact should be obvious if they are incomplete. What am I missing? It it in fact should be obvious if they are incomplete. What should be obvious? The first part. I mean, yeah, if you once you get the second one, then we know the first part. The word not messes up the obvious. Yeah, obviously it just changes the meaning. It confuses people a lot. But yeah, the moment we have this second part, because I really can't pick it from the first part. We don't know what is it. And in fact, second one also is not telling us so much. But then we can try to plug it and that's the only way I can go for it. If I put the extant or credible, it just doesn't fit in at all with the first one. These three don't fit in. Only with this incomplete, I'm able to fit trifling. If it's incomplete, then it makes sense because the word not becomes trifling. What it is not trifling, but then it says not, so it's fine. Big gaps. Anyway, the questions are just gonna get more tougher and tougher. With so many evasive is one evasive. There's so many evasive comments. I think he's trying to dodge something. The fourth right, another word, fourth right. That means upfront, direct, explicit. Statement, whatever is intrinsic, innate, lots of meanings. Stands out as something different because constantly avoiding it, this one is different. Alpha and echo. Standout is paradigm will be pattern, but this is an exception. So this is something that we are not expecting. So paradigm will be a pattern which is the accepted standard of the time, which is something that everybody follows. But this looks like this looks like unusual, right? Because always avoiding, and right now forthright statement comes in, which is very upfront. So this is different. So we have to choose the word which will say that it is different, not same. So upfront will that's why normally will work, which is an exception. Always avoiding comments, come out with a forthright statement, which is clearly an exception. Evasive. At first glance, Watkins Park is meandering. That means, meander in, if you somebody says your career is meandering, that means not going anywhere. It is like going zigzag situation. But here, it they just means zigzag stream. And it's thicket of greenery. Thicket is like very thick. As I said, that dense, very densely populated with bushes and stuff. Seems something. However, upon closer inspection, it is quickly reminded the park is in the middle of a major city. Well, it is in the park. Park is in the middle of major city. That means earlier it must look like it is not. So the opposite of major city, bucolic, pastoral. Got it. Which will showcase its rural. Remarkable and noteworthy will be a pair. They're incorrect, but they're pair. Urban, there's no pair. Spurious means fake. So yeah. The process of establishing a literary canon. See, whenever we say canon here, it means somebody who's like the top notch, the most important people, like somebody who's very, what's the word, distinguished, highly sought after. So highly regarded, those kind of things. Then this is the literary canon I was talking about. By some, in part, I think this is straightforward because then relegating, demoting the other ones to negative. So negative. Orthodox is negative, but okay, marginal. But their status cannot be changed to orthodox. So marginal, yes, and peripheral, which is again unimportant. That means on the periphery, unimportant. Mainstream would be mainstream, but they're clearly not going to the mainstream. Definitive and conditional. So yeah, these two. Bravo and Foxtrot. Yeah. So echo will be conditional. It's not getting conditional. Marginal and peripheral means something is now it's unimportant. There becomes central. Central will be important, and there will be not central, marginal, peripheries. If you're on the periphery of something, that means you're on the margins. That means you're not a very important person. Condition will mean based on, dependent on something. That you'll get admission condition, that you'll get 325 in GRE. So that'll be conditional. Definitive is certain. So, although they contrast, relying on much recent scholarship always remember it will they'll mean it as research work. What is it? Not the word how we use it. Research. Most likely it'll just mean research. How we use it as something like a grant, like a money that you get. So you'll never use it like that unless it's explicitly stated. So on Bison, although relying on much of recent, although they rely on something which is already there, it's not they're doing something different. Lot's book is distinct. So that's why the although part comes in. Although, yes, it's not coming up, with absolutely reinventing the wheel. It's using as whatever the information is there, but still it's very distinctive. That means different and even idiosyncratic, which means it has its own nuance. Like all of us are, let's just say, men and female, women and boys and girls. But then everybody has their own idiosyncrasies, either little nuances, differences about themselves, which separates them from each other. So that means there's some difference between them, something that makes a personal characteristic that separates you from other people. So, contribution to the field. That means we are looking for a positive word, first of all. Negative, positive, positive, negative, positive. Surprising is neither negative, positive, so it's out, out, out. Now we have to look for two similar words. Original and innovative looks similar to me. Yep. What is the difference between insightful and original then? Or innovative and insightful? Or original and insightful? Could there be a difference? How's insightful different than original? Yep, like new and something interesting already known. Yeah. So see, something can be original. Can be see original can be both insightful and original, but insightful doesn't always need to be original. Something insightful can be there, which has been there for the longest time, right? Let's just say that I'm not into. I don't really go to the temple or anything. But let's say if you read Gita, Bhagavad Gita, and then that has been there for the longest time. People say that's fairly insightful. So it's not original. It's been there for the longest time. That can be, but something doesn't need to be absolutely original. It doesn't have to be unique, but it can be very insightful regardless, nonetheless. So original will be, it has to be at least different. It has to be, has not been done before. It has to be absolutely distinct. So that way, insightful is also out, but these two will work. Now moving to a different page, I think we're skipping one page. Anyway, I think right now we're not skipping any page. Where did this go? It's going on 84, page 84. Yeah, we'll look at another 10 of these. I hope I had given this thing. Check, double check it. Yep, I think I have given, so it's okay. You're given two options. You're given three options. Beg rhymes as well. When normally something was interviewed, I don't know what even normally is. Hasn't texted me in a while. It was a topic of her next movie that, well, again, I don't know what it did to her words. Her something or subject suggested. Okay, now we get it. Unwelcome. Finally, we have a clue. Now, from this, we can actually answer all the questions. That means the person is talkative, first of all. This is like stops talking, talkative, loquacious, stanch is stopped, and something again, not talking, taciturnity. So these again, we are looking for the words which we mean this way. That's something that is they don't want to talk much, and this one fits in with that. Not wanting to talk much. The words will get more difficult. I think we've already reached a stage where we pretty much, if right now we're not able to spend time, and then everything will be like those massive bouncers going over your head. Because here, for example, assiduous is a word we have done like probably several times. So we should remember this word. It just simply means meticulous. Somebody is very or hardworking in simple terms. These words we should be like absolutely remembering like the back of our hand. Loquacious is a word we have not done before, but obviously now we know that it means talkative. Somebody who's just full of words, just has always something to say. Or another word that we probably had seen, I don't know, like garrulous. We have come across the word garrulous. So that also, if you get it, you think good word to remember. Diffident is shy. This was for loquacious. How do I put it? Okay, I'll write it here. Then we had the word diffident, shy. That'll work. Sometimes also used as modest as well. Divert is like you divert the attention, distract somebody, maybe sidetrack somebody. Distract, divert, sidetrack. Then stanch is stop. Accentuate is make something more prominent. Rhapsody is just as the word sounds rhapsody, Bohemian Rhapsody, something very happy, ecstatic. Alacrity is willingness to do something. Taciturn. Was the most best one. Don't speak much. Person of few words. Precise also. If an extended meaning, if you're looking for taciturn. So I think another word that they use for taciturn is reticent. That's another word used. Somebody who's a bit more, what's the word? Quiet. The right spelling, yeah. Don't mix the word. We just had the word tacit, right? Don't mix the word with tacit. Tacit was understood without spoken, without words, without stated. So that is something different. Okay. Any word different? Okay, fine. In case anyone is writing, so I'll just give a few seconds. All right. Talkative, garrulous. Yeah. Okay, this is the word I was saying. The spelling was right. It's not long-winded. Okay, just prolix. I think pithy and succinct will be fine. I mean, but reticent and taciturn are different words. They shouldn't be put in the same category. Reticent, sorry, taciturn is people who speak less. But pithy and succinct are a lot more positive, which means like, very precise. So slight difference. Abridge, brevity. I think abridge and condense also more closer synonyms. Brevity is again more succinct. So I would rather put pithy, succinct, and brevity in one, abridge in other, condense very short. I think that is more shortened. Brevity does means less, but brevity means being concise and succinct. Reticent, taciturn means somebody who speaks less, just doesn't bit more quieter. Learning from pictures, this technique is called mnemonic. And just like English language, even to learn the word mnemonic, I think we need another picture. M is silent. This M is silent. Because- All right, there is no point combing through. That means there's no point, like, you have a comb that you precisely go through, like comb through everything. That you don't need to go so precisely with a hint of ideological significance. It's not necessary. You don't have to look in this one combing through and all. This just means you don't have to be so precise and run a deep check on something to find the hints of ideological significance. It's unnecessary. His ideology, Marxist and all this anti-imperialist, aligned with the perceived interests of powerless and marginal, that means why they're saying don't bother. That means it is already there. It's very visible, something visible. I'm just thinking in my mind without looking at the answer. I'm thinking something very visible, something very obvious. So definitely positive, first of all, and obvious. The clarity and force of ideology is considerable. So this is positive. That means this one has to be negative because otherwise, what is the point of putting what in between? Sometimes bothers critics. Critics, as we have said multiple times, that it is somebody who analyzes things, who often scold the director for lacking something. Well, you can only lack something which is good. So courage is good, subtlety is good, all three are good. Hmm. Then here I think it'll matter clarity and force considerable, but it's something. We're looking for negative. Blunt is not particularly negative, but then it can have a negative meaning. Blunt being very direct and rude. So this can be taken. Obscure can be. Then everything is negative. That means the first one was definitely positive. Let's see if we can get hidden focus. Not positive, negative, but yeah, it doesn't seem positive. Murky, something which is unclear. Chief impetus will work. Something that is chief impetus, that is something that is impetus, something that's a momentum giving, something gives you momentum. Now, it is the main point, is something very obvious. Or here, I think they're using as more like a, I think, driving force, chief impetus. Okay, they're using as chief impetus as driving force. Something that makes, that drives them every morning, that this is something pushes them. So this is chief impetus they're looking for. And is the clarity and force of ideology considerable, but something. The obscurity sometimes bothers critics. Why is obscurity? But it's only clear and there's clarity, so it can't be obscurity. That doesn't make sense. Feeble, it is not feeble because see, force will cover the feebleness. It is very forceful. Clarity will cover the obscurity. Only left with bluntness. So bluntness, chief impact. And the last one has to be again positive. Often scold, so that's why we know it's blunt. If it's blunt, the opposite of blunt we're looking for. Well, opposite of blunt is not lucid, because lucid is clarity. It's not, opposite of blunt is not courage. In fact, to be blunt, it takes courage. It will be subtlety. You have to be a little bit more subtle. You know, just be careful. Don't be tone deaf. Be subtle. Be very understated or low key. BDH. Yep. So these three. Lucid is clear. Something is very directly clear. Also, if you ever end up at a hospital to check your if you're mentally stable, so one they'll say unstable, other word they generally use doctors is lucid. That is lucid. That means you can go home. You're fine. Murky is unclear. Comb through something is going deep into something, being very precise. Cloying also means a lot of things. Something was like very sugary, but I think here they're using it more. Somebody who lacks taste. Cloying. Taste as in like good taste in music, not the taste in food or anything. It lacks the taste. So cloying normally also means sugary or something, like in a bad way. Somebody who's like clueless is obviously very direct. That means you know there's a problem. Kept something that can only be kept negative because these people are cloying and they lack taste and they are clueless. So it can't be positive. Liberated is positive, obligated is duty bound, so not so much negative. That means it has to be hide bound. Hidebound will be like something which is orthodox and something that's like unoriginal or something that doesn't change much. By clawing radio commercial officers, this was a negative. This was a negative, which is more orthodox or something that does not cannot change or unwilling to change. Music scene has frequently depended on cities on the edges of cultural map to provide much needed shot of something positive. This is out. These two are there. I would say if I'm running out of time, I'm going with originality than truth with music. It's not a gospel, holy gospel. So, but okay, we'll come back and double check it. The momentary, what? Because see, here it was hidebound, and the opposite of hidebound is original. Hidebound is orthodox, so this will fit better. Then the momentary, what the next big thing seems to come out of nowhere. As if someone blows a whistle, only those in here can to crawling all over what had previously been an obscure locale. Everybody is going in the same direction. That means everybody is going in the same direction. So I think there's a consensus about something. There's an agreement about something. Indifference is when you don't care. The momentary guarantee over the next best thing is seems to come out of nowhere. Momentary guarantee, but again doesn't fit in very well. Momentary agreement or what the next big thing is come out of nowhere. As if someone blows a whistle and only those in the know can hear, and suddenly record executive and journalists all crawling over. That means everybody moving in the same direction. There's an agreement. As if like somebody blew a whistle and only a few people who knew what it was. It's like when the Batman comes and he gives a signal and only the people who know figure it out. So, and then everybody moves in the same direction. Now, the idea of the passage was overall that they're saying that if you guys into music scene or any scene, things don't change. The people who are actually holding, calling the shot, they don't know much. They are very afraid to take risks. They will only give the chance to people who are already working. They don't want to change music because they don't want to take any risks. So these people are the ones who are keeping it hidebound, unorthodox, keeping the same music over and over again. And popular music has frequently depended on the edges. That's why we're depending on the edges because mainstream, nobody wants to try out something different to finally get a shot of originality or something different. And then suddenly, like every year, if you follow music, there will be one song, one singer will pop out of nowhere. It's called a sleeper hit that suddenly becomes famous, and now everybody's running towards this person. I'm like, wow, like this is the next big thing, and there's an agreement that he is the next big thing of the music scene. So people will follow him, all of them, out of nowhere, like literally comes out of nowhere because suddenly because music gets popular, song gets popular, and everybody is running after them. Suddenly, it's not because they searched for them, they found them out, they just became popular, and then you're running after them. You're not discovering anybody. So that was the fundamental idea of the passage. ADG. Mechanisms develop whereby successful species can, innate is natural, for population growth with a constraint that arise through its interaction with natural environment. I think most people get confused with this question. In fact, not confused. In fact, people are very confident about the answer, which is usually incorrect. What they're trying to do is here is saying that the people who are going to be successful, the species that are going to be successful, are going to be able to the one which can manage both scenarios. That they have natural, like human beings have innate capacity for population growth. But the moment you walk outside the house, you have to go out and earn, do your thing, right? But the moment you walk out of the house, you can get hit by a truck. Bad things can happen to you. But whosoever is able to balance these situations best, they are the one who become successful. Mechanism developed whereby every successful species can balance its innate capacity for population growth with the constraints or restrictions that arise through its interaction with natural environment. And particularly for species, like the moment they walk out, they can be eaten by a tiger or lion or whosoever, somebody's eating somebody, right? So it's difficult. So they have to manage between both situations. So most people, I think, I understand that people keep choosing enhance, but here the idea was not enhance, it's can enhance his innate capacity with the constraints. And if you say enhance, if I go into the semantics of it, because we're saying with, so they're enhancing innate capacity of population growth with constraint also. Then that means they're enhancing both of them together. That means both of them will cancel out each other. So that it doesn't actually. It's at the end we just get a zero. So that wouldn't work. But replace, we can't replace this for this, right? They'll not be successful. They can replace this capacity with constraints. They'll be very unsuccessful. Produce innate capacity. It will be difficult to produce innate capacity. Surpass. Enhance, surpass sound very similar. This with this. This with will not fit. But if I put reconcile, reconcile has multiple meanings. So we have to fit in like what is the word they're actually looking for here. So here, as I kept saying the word balance. Like the most common meaning is that, which is not the one here, restore friendly relations. That's called reconcile. Then here it's actually saying that make one thing comparable with the other. This is natural capacity, population growth, compatible with the other is constraints. The moment you walk out, you can get eaten. Right. So that is something which they're saying, creating that balance. You can balance his innate capacity, or he can use the word balance also. Or in simple terms, just make comparable. Otherwise, only time I've heard this word reconcilable differences. I think if I can spell reconcilable different. Does this thing automatically fix? No, it doesn't. I'm not even sure the spelling is correct. Reconcilable differences. This is the term that is very commonly used. The most common reason for divorce is irreconcilable. I knew it was wrong. What was the mistake I made? Concilable, not liable. Okay, got it. Just one little error. Okay. So irreconcilable difference is the most common reason for divorce. So if you guys moving to America, then anyway, there's a 50% chance. So be ready. All right. So just guys back. What answer do you give? Okay. Human nature to Yeah. So if somebody's saying human nature, see, generally, if you do something as people say like it's human nature, it's I would say it's not taken in a negative way, right? It's like with if something is human nature, then how can that be negative? And long distances, they're using the conjunction to connect them together. Have made exceeding the speed limit or something. I'm thinking it cannot be super negative because it's like human nature and long distances, but okay. So the legislature, double check it. I'm thinking it's more positive. So the legislators, lawmakers surprise no one when exceeding, when accepting or giving into public demand. Well, if public is demanding, they must cannot increase the penalty. They must be rejecting the increase in penalty. If they're considering it, public will not ask to consider increased penalty for speeding. Public demand will not ask to consider endorsing. That will not work. So they must have rejected the increased penalty for speeding. And if they've rejected the increased penalty for speeding, then the first one probably does mean more obvious. It's a positive one, because how can it be negative? Why are you not increasing penalties for speeding if it's a big problem? Like it's a controversial habit. If it's a controversial habit, that means you have to increase penalties. Otherwise, bad things will happen. Disquieting ritual. If it's a disquieting ritual, then you have to again something very disturbing. So we can say cherished tradition because it's human nature and long distances make exceeding limit a cherished tradition in the thing. That's why the cops, the legislators, sorry, the lawmakers are not increasing penalty for speeding. They rejected the penalty. This is what public demand is there. Public will not demand for endorsing. Endorsing is supporting. They'll not ask to support you. They'll ask to reject it. Bravo, Fox. The reception given to Kimura's radical theory of molecular evolution shows that when this one is as straightforward as gets, but orthodoxy is not going to fight orthodoxy. The opposite will fight it, right? So the opposite becomes this. Invention is orthodoxy's opposite, fine. Not dogma is convention, imitation is convention, caution, reaction. This is the only one left. This one is fairly straightforward. Expecting more people to answer, but okay. So the government's implementation of new code of ethics appear intended to shore up. Shore up means strengthen. Standing, reputation. With an increasingly electorate, people, the voting public, the people who vote, electorate. When the party is besieged, that means overwhelmed. Besieged means you attack left, right, center, right? You completely besieged. You're under massive attack. By charges that trades favor means you do favors for people, you're trading it for campaign money. So you do favor to people and they'll give you campaign money. So anybody who's student who's there, whose parents or somebody they know is in politics, they would understand this part a lot. Trades favor for campaign money. If any politician is not trading favor campaign money, I don't know, they're in the wrong business. So here for campaign money, shore up with an increasingly. This is definitely negative. The audience is not happy. Placid is calm. It will not work. They're not calm. They are upset. Aloof is don't care. That'll not work. Tranquil and placid are same, so both won't work. So these three, restive, skittish, and vociferous. Vociferous like loud, who's giving slogans, doing marches, activism. Restive and skittish are fair, so we have to choose these two. These two will be our answer, thanks to because they are pair. It just means somebody who's very jumpy. Or more better is on the edge. Jumpy. If somebody is a bit on the edge and they've had enough of it. They're very, very like the water has reached the brim. It's all falling over. Restive and skittish. Restless. Irreconcilable differences. Vociferous will be more simple terms, just vocal. Assertive. Not sure assertive is direct meaning, but it can be used as somebody who's very direct. Aloof is somebody who's distant. Somebody who's a bit shut off. Electorate, as it says, was voters. Electorate is voters. Electorate. We are all electorate. We got like 3 more of these. I don't think they're that difficult. I think last few. Let me check. No, not crazy. Then we'll briefly look at the essay in the last half an hour or so. I've lost a lot of people. I think there were more here, 15. Oh, just when I said I lost people, I lost even more. Oh, feels like New Year's. Okay, overlarge, uneven, ultimately disappointing. That means negative, negative, negative. Retrospective, looking back, exhibition seems too much like a special pleading. When you plead to people, that means you're begging. A forgotten painter of real but limited, sorry, certain talents. Limited and circumscribed, which mean the same thing, which is restricted. So definitely not looking for undiscovered talents because this person He was a forgotten painter, so I don't think something can be already undiscovered. This guy has been there forever, forever. Circumscribed is limited or restricted. Prosaic, ordinary, but then I don't have a pair for ordinary. Hidden and undiscovered do not fit in. Prosaic, no pair. NP. Hidden and undiscovered don't fit in. This guy is already forgotten. He must be there for a long time. So when one more one's back, then because I have only one person answering, other people can also answer. Why not partial? Why are we so partial against partial? Isn't partial looks like limited? Because when I go on Google, they say both limited and partial are synonyms. So I'm like, why are they distinguishing between circumscribed, limited, and partial? Why? I mean, question is why not partial? How is that different? Because partial should also mean limited, technically. Albeit. Not partial. Now, according to GRE logic, I think it's only GRE logic only. Because when I did it first time, I also did not know what is the difference. Because partial limited, if you put on Google, it'll just say the same. They're both same. According to GRE, that's what I'm trying to explain it, that why they're choosing these ones, or limited in this case, circumscribed also means limited. That they believe that partial means that, for example, to give cricket example, music. Okay, music. I think everybody understands music. So let's say drums, guitar. What else is there? Flute. So according to them, limited will be that you're great at drums, but not so good at guitar and flute. That will be their logic about limited. This will mean limited. That means good at one thing but not at others. But partial would mean that, according to GRE, average at drums, guitar, or any of them. Doesn't have to be all of them, but you're just saying that you're not good, really that good at anything specifically. Your talents are limited. That means like master of jack of all, master of none kind of situation. But limited they want to use when you're good at one thing, but probably not so good at the others in simple terms. And partial, you just like average at everything. That means you're a very partially talented person. So that is the fundamental difference. So here they have not chosen partial and they have chosen limited and circumscribed. And limited and circumcised is not just it's incidental is there. It doesn't have to do anything. It just happens to be at the races. Okay, change. Change. Yeah, limited. You can make a note of that, whatever I've written here. I don't know what to do with it now. Right. Okay, that's that. Next. That took a while. Okay. I want to do these two so I can spend some time on the essay. Just choose an answer which has synonyms. Incomparable, pair one. Pair two. Pair. No pair. It has to be obsolete or outmoded or ubiquitous and everywhere. Why is them being everywhere is going to hurt the industry? Everybody wants to buy Apple phones or whatever it is. That's not hurting the industry. Let it on. More the merrier. People can keep buying them. If they're everywhere, it's wonderful. People are buying more. So it's saying that perception could hurt the industry by making reluctant to buy products. They soon will be everywhere. I don't think that everywhere is a concern. It's like saying that they will soon become obsolete because constantly new major breakthroughs coming through in the older technology will no longer be relevant. That is the problem, but not by everywhere. Consumers reluctant to buy. If things are everywhere, if it's more and more devices are there, then it's things become easier and cheaper and easy to connect. So I think that'll be a good thing. So I don't think ubiquitous and everywhere means anything. Ubiquitous means everywhere, by the way. Charlie and Foxtrot, yeah. So obsolete, and again, that is the main concern. If it becomes obsolete or outmoded, if it becomes everywhere, it's a good thing. The trouble is they don't want to buy something which will soon become obsolete. Only thing that you don't want everywhere, ubiquitous, is the luxury product. If this is a luxury situation, then we will say that, yeah, we don't want it everywhere. The whole idea of luxury is it's exclusive. If everybody has it, it's not luxury. All right, one more. This is last one. Yeah. They have taken markedly, significantly, distinctively different courses. Significantly, market distinctively. Some adopted herding when you go back with the cattle and everything, sheep. Other to tillage. tillage is, I think, the word for cultivating. That means farming. So some others stuck to foraging. Foraging is when you're looking for food. So that means they're all going in different directions. So we should be using the word different. Alpha is different. Echo is different. Unfamiliar will mean unknown, but there's no pair. Rural, novel. Unfamiliar could have been new, but then this is not new. Everybody's going in different directions. Quotidian is something ordinary, or that happens every day. Ordinary. All right. Now, I have 10 more people. I want to look at some of this. Where were we? Asset pool. What else do I have? Mm, mm, asset. We were discussing this earlier. Modern property society can. Two of them. I think let's discuss this a little bit and then one more. Mm. Can help. Hmm. Okay, you've had like a bunch of days to think about it. And that's pretty bold of me to think that you're actually thinking about it, but okay. Let's, you know, shoot for the stars. You might land on the trees. Yeah. And everybody's going for the lowest hanging fruit. So I'm saying, you know what, shoot for the stars. But I'll bother you again with this question that we discussed last time, that it is primarily through our identification of social groups that we define ourselves. I think Ashley has given a small example before we left. And I think I'd give an example of my father asking me not to talk to certain people because they were lower caste. Um, I don't know, one more example I think I've given. I don't know which one I've given. I have few in my mind. Um, but anything that is something which we people do something different. I think I gave the example of the student in Nepal, the one who was activist against abortion or for abortion, sorry. So I think two examples I must have given. So I'm wondering that people have thought, or at least in their conscious, yeah, with the bad, yeah. So that one I'd given. I think one, I think I might have mentioned that one lady said, one of the students said, she said that her friend had adopted a mother, poor lady. So that was different example. That was something going against the social customs. See, against the social groups is like when you do something which is not very straight line, it's a bit left field, something which is not expected of you. It doesn't have to be you don't have to, like, some part of it can be considered as rebellious, but not for the rebel without a cause. You have to have some reason why you're doing it, not just trying to be rebellious for the sake of it. I would not consider getting a tattoo as, like, going against social groups, because I think literally everybody has a tattoo now. So that's like, it doesn't really matter. It has to be something substantial, something genuine, which will define ourselves. So probably just probably people might get warmed up. I would really hope that people say something, because it's very underwhelming. But what I'll do is I'll put this essay out, so you might as well read it, and eventually, maybe come up with your own. Your mind will eventually come up with some interesting ideas, hopefully, or it will jog your memory. This was the one through our primary social group. So this is the model answer, which is a sample answer. Doesn't mean it's a great answer. It just means it's an answer. It's a reasonable answer. It's one person's idea. This is an Indian website, so it's probably have some Indian context, I believe. You can give it a read once. Now, the answer doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, one thing I felt like they could have given more solid examples, because what we're looking for in the essay is actually genuine examples instead of a lot of commentary. Like, because I felt there was a lot of commentary in this essay, because this is all commentary. There's like small snippets, but it's all commentary. This little bit trying to get into it, but again, really, yeah, just very snippets and really commentary. There's no real story. Like, I was adding stories, and also beyond this GRE essay, I mean, when you're writing the essays for the college, those will be very defining for you. Those can be a make or break situation for you. That's where you're able to showcase your personality, I mean, or lack of it. So it can be a very defining feature for your future, that how you write those essays, and you have to write stories. No matter what it is, you have to write stories. Even the most serious essays, SOPs as they call them, statement of purpose, there also you'll have to write stories. People should be able to find it easy to read. If it's very dense and difficult to read, nobody wants to read it. It's not a matter of your English. They don't really, they don't want you to make weird mistakes, but it's not a test of English. You can write however you feel like. In fact, it has to be engaging. Like this essay also needs to be engaging. Somebody should read it and feel they get something out of it. So here, that's the one thing I felt probably it's maybe difficult for them to probably come up with ideas, but there are a lot of things around us that people do that are fundamentally super different. I would try to avoid the giving example of something which are very prominent and very obvious and very well known, because then you're boring the people. They're like, I already know what you're writing about. You have to surprise them a little bit. The more you surprise them, the better chance you have of getting a higher score for that matter, if that motivates you, whatever motivates. If I'm writing something, I want to write the hell out of it. I want to make sure it's the best thing. That motivates me. And if I get a good score on it, then that's, icing on the cake. Um, Still waiting for one option example that's whatever people can contribute that you feel that either you, your friend, or anybody you know who's done something which is not exactly traditional, not exactly what is expected of you or them. They've gone against the grain. If everybody's moving in one direction, they moved in the other direction. Hoping for something. Please move from here because otherwise I'm not getting there. I'm still hopeful. I'm not giving up. I'm just trying to move some things properly clean. What is this? Sure, sure. What is on? Oh, doesn't work out. This is interesting. It is no longer possible for society to regard any living man or woman as a hero. Why is that? The reputation of anyone who is subjected to media scrutiny will eventually be diminished. That means everybody has a closet. Everyone has done something wrong. That's what it's saying, that eventually, if there's enough scrutiny is paid, they will figure out something, some problem will occur. Some secrets will pop out. What could this mean? Is no longer possible society because like an IELTS essay. Let's see what these people have to say. They've not even written an essay. Oh, their option. Good. That's what media usually does, tends to do a lot of leg pulling, if you will, mostly seen with political figures. Those are empowered to have something that comes up, because it's, and when they're a part of the government, no matter how good their current efforts are generating. So something will pop out whenever you become famous. And this day and age, you with you guys, it's just everything that you've done bad, or you at least it will just pop out if you become really famous. If you're not famous, then it'll be fine. If you become famous, then everything will be so scrutinized that eventually there's no way you can actually continue to be a hero. What was that Batman saying? That either you die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain. Something like that, right? Even more visible in socials, if you have followers, they tend to question every action. Yeah, generally, yeah. If you're out there, you'll just become everything that you scrutinized constantly. So eventually, that is, again, we'll have to give here. If you were to write this essay, again, you'll not have a choice. If you get an essay, you get an essay. If you were to give this, you can give examples. You have to give physical examples of what is happening, why somebody is a bad person. Give examples of people who were, or as they call them, the fallen heroes, that eventually scrutiny will happen. There are a lot of American people who were very legendary, and then clearly, when something's happened, the less serious one would be probably like there are something very disturbing ones. Again, I don't want to talk about those, but less disturbing or more almost comical at times was the Johnny Depp situation. So that was one like I mean I don't know if the media was doing it or he was doing it to himself, but that case he had with his Amber. So then the case they had with Amber Heard, that is still there. I think it's on Netflix or YouTube. There's like the entire thing is there for hours and hours. So that I think it's on Netflix, or they made some season also from that. So they're just making money out of it. Eventually, everything just becomes money thing. So that was a farce. So that happened. And eventually there are a lot of cases with people who are actually a hero, but then long enough they people found out something really terrible things about them. All these movie directors accused of bad things, and then they got into trouble. Every year somebody else keeps getting into trouble, then they get out of trouble. Even that recent, I think most recently I heard that guy, what's his name, no, brain will not function. uh, I don't read his books that much, but he was some writer who got into trouble. Neil Gaiman, yeah, Neil Gaiman. So he is very popular writer who got into a lot of trouble recently. So he's an English writer. I think he's from England. So he got into trouble recently. He's very famous guy for his books, and he got into trouble recently. And he's been a superstar for the longest time. Even J.K. Rowling had to go through the same situation in a much less serious manner, but she also was trolled heavily, called a transphobic, and a lot of other things. So every time that, so it is true right now that eventually something will pop unless you're a complete saint, unless you're a complete Gautam Buddha. Eventually something bad will come out, and then your entire reputation will be tarnished, and now nothing matters. Nothing, no matter who you are, eventually you'll be just burned to ashes. So I guess if you're interested, you can write a couple of essays that will be helpful. Try to choose these topics. I think I had sent these things last time. I'm gonna double check it. This ETS is available everywhere anyway, but I'll just, because I have to spoon feed everything um, to get any chance of any participation. Where is it? Important. I don't think I've sent a link, at least in the last class. I must have sent it previous class. Yes, I have sent. I think I've sent those vocabulary also. 357 words. I would recommend you print them out and write manual sentences. And midterm test is there. I don't see ETS. Okay, I'll send it again. Yeah, okay, I deliberately, I think, did not send it. So I'll send this ETS link. This link is there. So you can actually check out and try, at least, even if you don't sit down, don't have the patience to sit down, but just try to think of few ideas, two, three, four ideas that you can bounce, because eventually you'll get essays from university, and that will really help you. This practice will really help you. You don't have to spend too much time. Even if you spend a couple of days, 4, 5, 6 hours, that's enough. For the test, you'll have to spend lots and lots, hundreds of hours, obviously, preparation. But this one, you just need 3, 4, 5 hours, write a couple of essays, you'll be fine. And all the list, it's already given to you that how to approach the essay, how to write it. That also, again, I'll send you something else as well for the essays. So you can just follow that. It'll just take few hours of your time. Then even if you don't write it, let's just go through. Like this question, for example, it says, competition for high grades seriously limits the quality of learning at all level. It clearly does, right? Because we're so concerned about grades. We're not concerned about learning at the end of the day. So here also it's like main focus is on grades and actually learning something new. That's why whenever I feel like I'm spending too much time discussing something, I feel like I have to finish the course, because but main idea is learning, which gets hampered naturally. So yeah, the rest I think I'll just write it on Viber only, the whatever we're supposed to do, and we'll leave it here for now then, and I'll send all these things. So yeah, whoever is still here, thank you for staying, Anju, Ashlesh, as always, Ganga and Mabin, Nasir, Ram, Rita, Suman, Utsav. Utsav was contributing earlier, which was nice. Have a good evening. Enjoy your Sunday. I'll meet you on Christmas. The Christmas and such maybe. Yeah. Okay, since I've been here, I've worked on all the weird days. Yeah. We still have a class. If you're not available, then yeah, I don't know. We'll still have to go through the class somehow. So yeah. So have a good rest of the Sunday, and I'll see you again in 3 days. Thank you, Ashlesh. Have a good one.